Hey guys, Steve Innes again. Well, two in one day. I'm doing not bad. So I know this might be backtracking a little bit, I suppose, probably, but I was reading a thing the other day where somebody didn't know how to make a domino go sort of shorter in using the dominoes. I just thought, I might just do a quick little overview of the difference between the 500 and 700 dominoes as well, while I show you that the little trick. But what I'll do is I'll change the camera around. Okay. Now I know this has probably been flogged to death, this sort of thing, but I'll do it anyway. Look, this is the Festool Domino 500. Obviously, yep, we've all seen those. These are all the cutters, which is the 4mm, 5mm, 6mm. There's an 8mm, which is actually in the machine, and a 10mm. These are all the dominoes that come available, right down to 4mm, 4mm thick, by a very tiny domino. And then you go the 5mm, then you go the 6mm by 40, and then you know as you go up. Now also this is the exterior quality. I think it's a mahogany, but it's good for outdoors. This is one which I mark, and I've got a few of them in my little thing. What I do is I've sanded off the ends, so this actually slips into the holes for a dry run. So you can easily slip them in and slip them out just to see how it's all working. Now this is a little bit of pipe, which I was talking about just before. This is a little bit of pipe you can just use by a little bit of plastic pipe, cut to whatever length you want, and I'll show you that in a minute, but I'll move on. Now this is the Domino 700. These are the cutters it comes with, and this one is an 8mm. That's I think it's got the 10mm in it in the machine at the moment. Here is the 10mm. That's a 12mm, and that's a 14mm. And this is a 14 by 140. So this is 14 by 140. This is serious stuff. Now, with dominoes, the rule of thumb should be the thickness of the domino you use is a third of the thickness you're going to apply it. So, for instance, if you're going to put it into a bit of 18mm board, you would use a 6mm domino because that's the thickness that you want to go. And subsequently, if you were doing this is a 12, this one's a 12mm. If you're doing a 12mm, well, you probably go on say like a 36 or 40 millimeter thick board. This is the one that you would need. Now, if you went to 14, well, you'd probably go, this is probably good for anything above, 50 millimeters, I would think. Now, each of them comes with the spanners, of course, to flip it open. Then I've got a series of plates. This is a standard plate here, which is probably a bit hard to see with black on black, but this is a standard plate which allows for when you set it up straight like they are now. That fits off to the back here and makes it nice and stable when you're doing a face cut like that. These are the paddle wings, or the extra wings, so you've got the extra width. You can dial them either side because on each one of these you've got little paddles on the front here and on the front there, and little paddles like there, as you can see. Whoops, there we go, the domino theory. As one goes down, they all go down. These are little paddles that go in and out. Now, when you're setting these up, they also come with another range of these paddles, and these paddles you can vary very, very tiny degrees of setting it off to the setter when you set them. The guy from Half Inch Shy tells you how to do that, which is quite good. These little paddles can lock in. You can lock them in with a little Allen key on the side. Now, if I move these cutters, you come over. This is the Domino 700 has got a much better system, and that is they have push a little button on the side. They pop out there, and they pop out there. Now you can shut them off individually, which is like this. So when you're doing a particular project, these are your little reference stops and you can adjust them accordingly. When I come back over here, this is actually the paddle which you fit off to the side, and this means that you can center where you want your domino to go over your bit of wood. So here's your bit of wood, you clamp that into there, and then you can center your dominoes into the end of it. This is a product from Seneco Woodworking, and this is an aftermarket thing. You can, if you do it, this is for 1/2 inch board, obviously, and when you turn it up the other way, it's, oh no, I must have the other one. I think I've got that one and a 3/4 inch. Now this is the RS Engineering. This fits onto the Domino 500 or even the 700, and this fits off, and you can adjust these paddles as you want, running back and forth. This is, again, I broke this, unfortunately. I stood on it by mistake, and this is how you limit your cut if you want to do a cut other than what the standard cut is. Now what I'm going to do is, first of all, they're back on the air again. Okay, first of all, I'm going to have a cup of tea today. I'm not doing coffee. I've had my coffee this morning. I'm going to put my phone up on the stand. There we go. It looks rather dark this morning. Anyway, never mind. Now, I'll see if I can kind of get this working over here a bit better. Yep, there. Okay, there we go. So one of these dark benches is when I'm showing you dark things, it's not crash hot. See if I can find a bit of light coloured board hanging around. A little bit of light coloured board. Okay, I found a bit. Obviously you can see I'm well prepared for my videos. Okay. Oh, look at the big kahuna over here. Now, I like the 700. I love the action, this action of being able to, I love this handle. In fact, at some stage I think I'm going to retrofit this handle onto my Domino 500. You just buy it as a spare part because it actually has a better action where you're pushing down like this, and this action here is much better. So in actual fact, funnily enough, even though this is a big, heavier unit, this is ergonomically nicer to use than the 500. But the 500 is the one that you're going to use most of the time, I would imagine, unless you're making gates or big stuff. Now, this has all the same adjustments as such, but around here you have a little green flipper which unlocks it. Now, what you do is you can cut this. You can cut this, or even just use a bit of pipe which you've cut, so you've simulated the sort of thing. Now this slips over here and pushes up against there. So you can see that what's happening now is when I push this back in, there we go. When I push this back in, see that gap? See how now the plunge is only really light. See that real light little plunge? And then the plunge is here. Now, if I take that off, I'll try and do without having to pull it apart again. Now, if I take that off, now look at the plunge depth. Now look how much the plunger comes out. It's using these little stops on your track, which will limit how much your domino comes out. If this is if you want to use the domino different than the settings. Of course, this is Domino 500. As I said, this handle ergonomically, as you put your hand here, you're bashing up against here. But look, it's not the end of the world. I hold it in all sorts of different ways. Hanging onto it here is quite good. It's just basically, it feels like a grinder to hang on to. Your thumb goes into this indent here, so when you push, you tend to use your thumb as well. Now again, if I flip the, now this is a funny one. This is against all the theory of Festool. That little clip there is not green. On every other thing, and this button is not coloured. On every other thing that usually is something that does something, their philosophy is they make it green. So I think they missed out on that one, and they missed out on that one. So they didn't even stick to their philosophy. Never mind. They're a great machine, so I'm not going to complain. Now, pull this one apart. And this is where I've made my own little unit up. Now, this just simply slips over. It doesn't have to be an exact fit. It doesn't matter, because you can see it's sort of sloppy. But what it does, it stops the distance, or the gap. So I'll push this one. Now again, you can see right in there, again, see how it's now limited that plunge? So we'll turn it over now and we'll see how it just plunge, just comes out a little bit like that. Now, that's a good little trick if you want to do domino cuts different than what the unit has said. Now interestingly, a company called Seneco Woodworking, which you might be able to sort of see this, Seneco Woodworking, they make a 6mm cutter for the 700. So you can see it's a longer cutter. All these 700 cutters are longer, and this is longer to suit. So in actual fact, whilst the smallest you can use on the if I look at the standard little domino here, it's 8x50. That's the smallest you can use normally on the 700. But now you can buy the 6mm one, and you can go down now to 6mm. You can now use the Domino 500 6mm dominoes and adjust it accordingly. Interesting that you should sort of say that how they did this. You know what they do? They actually buy, I think they buy one of them from Festool, and then they machine it down. Because underneath their little sticker, if I look at underneath their little sticker, which I'll pull back their little sticker, this is you'll see that this is a standard Festool 8mm cutter. So what they've done is bought the 8mm cutter, which is that one, there it is, see that's the 8mm cutter, and they've ground it down on a special lathe. Obviously it's a pretty sophisticated lathe, I can say that, and made a 6mm. So that's why this damn thing is damn expensive, because they've bought a Festool one and ground it down. That's why you pay a premium for this stuff. But look, once you got it, you got it. It's very, very, I find it often handy. But it also means that for some people the 700 might be the preferred, but this allows them now to do some smaller sizes. Now I do believe there is another one which Seneco sell, or one of the other companies, aftermarket companies sell, is an adapter, and the adapter fits the 700, which then fits the standard 500 cutters. So you can see the difference in the length. You know, they're quite considerable. So that the adapter comes out to about here. This screws on and creates virtually the same length. So that's another way of handling it. However, the largest you can put in a 500 is a 10mm cutter. That's the biggest you can do. The biggest you can do in the 700 is 14mm. But with these different cutters, you can actually go down to all the same sizes of the 500 using a Seneca woodwork adapter, or you buy the 6mm one. So therefore that makes now your 700 Domino an interesting buy, because you can, the 500 can't do what the 700 can do, but the 700 can now do what the 500 does. The 500 is, whilst it is bigger, and I'll say that, I'll repeat that again, it's got some great features, and the great features are you can lock in your different plunges and set them across like so. You've got, on this one, you've only got two settings, being the tight setting and the loose setting. You've got here, you've got this, which is different. This gauge on the 500 reads as the thickness of the board. On this Domino 700, this dimension here of 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, that's actually the distance of the, it's like half your board. So if you set it, if you had an 80mm bead, an 18mm bit of timber that you were going to put this in the centre, you'd lock this down at 40. So that if I come along here and I unscrew it and I do this, flip this around and I lift this up so that it comes up to the 40. Oops, see, nope, 40. Now lock it down, lock it down. That now, the distance between this plate and the centre of the cutter is now 40mm. So that's actually different than the 500, how their system is. So that's a bit, that's a bit of a head space thing, but never mind. Now I'll flip this back around. Okay, so weight-wise, funnily enough, sort of similar weights. This is actually a little bit heavier. This is not exactly a light unit as well. So now we'll come back here. Now I hope that might have cleared up a couple of things with the Domino. Probably different than what other people have done. It's just a bit of insight. I don't need to show you. Look, there's plenty of guys doing ones to show you how to use them, but I'm just showing you, say, the difference between them and maybe a few little things that you can add or get the advantages from. But yeah, both of them are great. And I thought I'll show you the difference between the two. And there's lots of different techniques you can use with them. Use them on your rail. I've showed a few things how you can sort of use them with the rail and that. But okay, hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again.